Good morning and welcome everybody to this very special event. Sri Sarada Math, Anecdotes and Activities. We have special guests from Calcutta with us, Pravrajikas Alokaprana. She's very involved with the Matri Bhavan Maternity Hospital, Sri Sarada Math Hospital they're running in Calcutta. And she's very kindly been able to come for nearly a month to stay with us here in Sydney, and got to say the first visiting nun since COVID. So I think for the other nuns, it's very good, great support for them. They've been feeling, I'm sure, quite isolated these last few years. They couldn't go to India. Nobody could come to visit them from India. So this is an extra special visit and support and happy time for us all. So today, the Sri Sarada Maths, of course, a very deeply spiritual organization. And of course, being so, the members of Sri Sarada Math strive to tame their egos, to curb any assertive, self-promoting tendencies. Still, due to organizational circumstances, some are compelled to be in the forefront and be the public faces of the order. And we who take close interest in Sri Sarada Math, of course, we come to know about them, we meet them. But behind these shining lights are many others, and they are also of great spiritual stature, and they're also touching the lives of many through their service and wisdom. So this morning, Pravrajikas Alokaprana and Sridharaprana are going to share with us some intimate glimpses into the very sweet, powerful, subtle world of these nuns who many of us have never heard of or may not have met or only met briefly. And so it'll give us a good insight into the unfolding history of the Sri Sarada Math, which seeks to embody the strength and sincerity and purity of Sri Sarada Devi, the Holy Mother. Of course, as we know, the saintly wife of Sri Ramakrishna. So this presentation, which will include some PowerPoint presentation, you'll get to see photos of all except one of these nuns. You'll see their photos. Actually, I won't take any more time. I'll call on Alokaprana and Sridharaprana to come and take a seat up here, and we'll get this event underway.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Mataji. With my respectful pranams to Sri Sri Thakur, Sri Ma, and Swamiji, I will start this session. Regarding the anecdotes that I want to share with you, as far as I'm concerned, they are very sacred. So I request you to maintain that sanctity of these anecdotes. Now, just to give you a little background of myself, I was basically, my whole adolescent life was spent in the Western countries, in UK. So actually, I basically think Western. So it is thanks to the influence of my parents that every year, without fail, I had to come to India. And then it was the spiritual culture of India that attracted us. And obviously, whichever part of the world we went to, we always kept in touch with the Ramakrishna mission. Now, when we go back to the spiritual culture of India, we always see a lot of stories about saints and sadhus. So I never heard about the Sannyasinis of India. You don't hear much about them, but when you read Sri Ramakrishna's Leela, then you find there are some stalwart Sannyasinis who have been either gurus or companions of Thakur and Ma. It was in the 1980 when I came to India to attend the Ramakrishna Mission Convention. I was surprised to see in one corner of the huge conference hall a group of Sannyasinis. So I inquired, who are they? And they told me that they are the women's wing of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, and they are the Sri Sarada Math and Ramakrishna Sarada Mission. So I was really highly impressed. But I had no contact with Sarada Math at all. And I had an intention, because I was in the medical profession, that I will come back to the Eastern countries and to do honorary service for the Ramakrishna Mission. Then the next year, it was my good fortune to be invited by the General Secretary, Mukti Prana Mataji, to attend the temple opening ceremony of Sarada Math. That was really an eye-opener for me, because I had a close association for the first time in my life with the Sannyasinis of Sri Sarada Math. Then actually what really became a learning lesson for me is, as you join the order, for me being in the medical profession, I was really fortunate to come in very, very close contact with the senior Sannyasinis. Very close contact in the sense is very difficult to understand a spiritual life. It's not an academic life where you will know the person has got so many degrees and all that. It is an indrawn life, very difficult to judge unless you're a spiritually elevated individual. And I have been very close to them, especially at the time of their leaving this earth. And it is at that time you realize that the whole life is portrayed at the time of death. And I was fortunate enough to be there with these sadhus at the time of their death, and also some of their incidents during their life. It became a real eye-opener for me, in the sense I felt that they are no less. And that is the reason the Swami Vivekananda also had a lot of high hopes in the women Sannyasinis of India. So before, this is an introduction, so that I hope you will get inspired by the anecdotes that we share with you, but kindly maintain the sanctity of these anecdotes. Thank you.
It was Swamiji's dream. Yeah. Swami was the, what do you call, he was the person who really thought of women and masses. Well, Buddha and Christ, they thought in general term, but Swamiji was the person who specifically thought about women, because it was, he understood the condition of the women when he himself, when his family himself went through his own sister had to commit suicide at some stage. That made him to think about the women of India. So this might be happening everywhere. What's the reason? What's the cause for it? It's education. So he wanted to give education and give them, only then they will independently take their life upon themselves. So he wanted the women of India to have an alternate ideal. Not that it wasn't there, it was already there, but psycho-political conditions, socio-political conditions had curbed the society in such a way, the women lost their freedom. It's the first women who lose all the independence. Anything happens, political, social. So the Indian women completely lost their freedom and they were behind. And Swamiji wanted that. So that was his dream was that. And he told Sister Nivedita, look, one day the organization will come just to the other bank of the Ganges. And even, I believe, he had pointed out the place. He being a person who can see the past, present, and future, he must have known it. And another time, when he was sick, he was asked by his doctors to go on boat on the Ganges to have fresh air. So once he came by boat, two of the young disciples were rowing and the boat passed Kali temple and it passed Dakshineshwar, our mutt. Our mutt is situated there. Can we show the Suradani Khanan photos? Yeah. That's the small top part of the temple. And Swamiji passed by that, our ashrama. It's written, we couldn't get that picture. That building, small building, that was the only house it was there. It's called as garden house. So it was called as Suradhuni Kanan. And Swamiji passed by that and he was just lost in thoughts. He must have visualized the future generations coming and staying because nothing is hidden to him. And we are blessed that Sri Ramakrishna came to this garden house. That is when Padmalochan was a great scholar and saint of Bengal. He had come to Dakshineshwar and lived. And Sri Ramakrishna made it a point to meet all the great people always in his life. So he came, he sent Hriday to find out whether the saint is, what sort of a saint he is. Then Hriday came and gave the report. He's very humble. Then Sri Ramakrishna went and met. So he came to this Suradhuni Kanan. And Bhairavi Brahmani had just lived next to that, next to our road there is called as Devmandal Ghat. She used to stay there because she was a nun. She was a very strong lady. She never lived under the roof. Such a type of lady she was. She lived in that ghat, near that ghat. And so many people. And another thing is, later on, in this house was held the Congress meetings of the freedom fighters. Motilal Nehru and all of them had come. And our Muktipana Mataji's father was taking care of this building. And we have a photo, I couldn't get it, where all the Congress leaders were there, sitting just the next group photo watched you see. That is the place where those Congress leaders were sitting. So this is a very important place, spiritually, politically, and this was the only garden house at that time we find. So we are sure that Sri Ramakrishna came here and Swamiji's noble eyes, the holy eyes of Swamiji had fallen. So it's blessed place. And this center hosted all the great monks who had come. They have come and stayed, opened this. And it's a wonderful place, really holy. You can feel the very vibration of it. And next, Bharati Pranam. Yes.
Actually, Ramakrishna Math and Mission, at one point of time, when Sarada Math had to come into existence, there was a dedicated group of women workers from all over India, which was actually a branch center of Ramakrishna Math and Mission. Later on, they decided after voting that Sarada Math must come into existence. And it was also Swamiji's dream that an independent women's monastic organization must come into existence. And it was in 1959, Swami Shankaranandaji Maharaj ordained the first group of nuns from Brahmacharya to Sannyas. It was done in the old temple shrine in Belur Math, the old one. And you can see the existence of 8 sadhus. Actually, Bharati Pranam Mataji. Now, Bharati Pranam Mataji, there is Sridharaprana will tell you something about her anecdotes, but books have come out. But the wonderful thing about Bharati Pranaji is that she was molded in the life and by Holy Mother herself to nurture the new Sarada Math. So you can imagine what type of spiritual strength a Brahmavadin is guiding the nurturing and the growing up of the sapling of Sarada Math. Now she was ordained into sannyas by Swami Saradanandaji Maharaj, but again she came into this group. So she was the first Bharati Pranaji, and she was also became the first president of the order. Then we have Mukti Pranaji, who is actually the pioneer of Sri Sarada Math. Then Shraddha Pranamataji, Vidya Pranaji, Bhakti Pranaji, Meda Pranaji, Vidya Pranaji. Total, there are 8 of them. And these 8 Matajis, they actually, and Moksha Pranaji, these 8, they form the nucleus of Sarada Math. And in future, you will see that it is they who give sannyas. So here, Sarada Math and Ramakrishna Sarada Mission became a completely autonomous, independent body. And when we say autonomous, independent body, we mean it is not like the Catholic organization. Here we are completely independent from the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, legally, financially, and also regarding the decisions that are being made. And we are the only organization in the world that women run their own setup, independent of the men's. Men do not have any say. The Belur Math does not have any say in the running of Sarada Math and Ramakrishna Sarada Mission.
As Alokaprana said, Holy Mother had told, she had visualized, she knew that Bharati Prana will be doing a lot of work. When Holy Mother was passing away, at that time she was called as Sarala. She wanted to go, Mother, take me also. But Holy Mother said, no, my child, you have got a lot to do. You have got to do my work. And where will you go? You will come back to me. That shows Bharati Prana Mataji ultimately reached Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. So that is the greatness about Bharati Pranama. And Swami Shaharadananda and the 2 companions of Holy Mother, those who have read the life know, Yoginma and Golapma, they had brought her into the traditional way. And this young girl and the teenage, she had understood the vanities of life. And she was completely dedicated to God-oriented life. It is not philanthropic work or doing good to the others, leading just a holy, no, God-centered life. Absolutely breathing in and out in the God's name. With every breath, 27 years isolated life she led at Varanasi, and then she was equipped with tremendous spiritual power, which she used during her ministration of the Sarada Math. And she was such a wonderful person, never made people know that she was such a great. She would come to our level and be, and the brahmacharinis and sannyasinis felt she's one among us, and they would call her Ma. We generally call Mataji, that is respect. The G keeps a distance. When you put G, revered Mataji. But when you say Ma, mother, so you just behave very intimately with her. That was Bharati Pranama. Every individual, whoever came newly, she would make them her own. And there are books, so I don't want to go much into her life. Everybody will know. There's a very beautiful video also on Bharati Pranama. Robert had given the link in that. It's a wonderful video. They have done a small video. So you can go through that. Only thing is, what I'm saying is Bharati Pranama, when she was passing away, the whole of the order was chanting Sri Ramakrishna's name. What we say, Hari Om Ramakrishna, we say. Whereas she was she was chanting, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. Just imagine everybody stopped. They wanted to, because the pronunciation was something, the lips were in a different way moving. So they just kept the ears and heard, and this was what she was. The whole soul had gone finally into the absolute, and just she passed away. And it was not at all a period, state or atmosphere of mourning. It was such a joy was there in everybody. And they say after the next day, after the funeral, because we do it very quickly, we don't keep things, just immediately it's done. And the next day, all of them had gathered and they were having a lot of fun, telling so many anecdotes about Parthipanama, how she did, what she spoke, what jokes she told them, all that. Amazing. It's all in Bengali. You cannot understand, but it is so beautiful when it's told in the language, the jokes, fun stories, and they are talking about all this. There is no grief at all. So that's the difference. When a holy person passes away, they spread joy and go. That's the difference. So endowed with her power, the Ramakrishna Sarada Math, Ramakrishna Sarada Mission is doing its best to spread the ideals of Ramakrishna Vivekananda's mother. The next person to take was Mokshaprana Mataji, a very, very silent person, very quiet, very reserved, but at the same time compassionate. She came to the order when she was quite young. She had finished her master's in history, and she was asked to take the research project, but she refused. The university had given her the opportunity to do research on history, but she refused and she joined the order. Before she could join, there was another group of dedicated workers, and they had some sort of problem with the authorities, and they all left. And there was nobody to take charge. The monks have to take ultimately, which is a girls' school. At that time, she came. Her name was Renu Devi, and she came and she was entrusted with the responsibility. And accepting one candidate by name Bijili Devi, rest all of them had gone. So that is our Vidyaprana Mataji and Mokshaprana Mataji. They are the foundation stone. Like, when Mokshaprana Mataji, when I saw, she was quite old, but then she was still strong. I could see her during Kali Puja and Shivaratri. The whole night puja is there. Whole night starts around about 9 o'clock, finishes by 6. Once she takes a seat, that's it. No getting up. 9 to 6, like a stone, she's seated there. No movements, no changing of the legs, nothing. Undisturbed. And that would elevate the atmosphere, and we would all feel it. And there's a little tiny thing about Shivaratri. As a part of the worship, that deity has to be entertained by dance, music, everything. So they make it a point that the brahmacharinis, young newcomers, are dressed like Shiva and Parvati, and they dance. And we would dance right in front of Shiva, and the devotees are behind, and all the monastics are there. And Mokshaprana Mataji, immediately, she would be meditating or doing japa. Immediately, she would be all attentive to it. Just imagine, she wouldn't ignore, oh, these girls are doing jumping. No, she would look everything, and the next day she would say, this person did it very well, that person did it very well, that was very good the way you presented. And we would feel so happy that a person like Mataji is seeing our dance. So it was a wonderful thing, to have Mataji whole night. The thing what I'm saying, she must be more than 65 or 70, but then 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours continuously to sit. It's a great thing. That shows that how deep one's spiritual life, the mind is. completely not aware of anything else unless she wants to come out. So that's the beauty of Mokshapana Mataji. And I had the good fortunate to be with her. And when she was in her last illness, she was in the hospital. Just 1 minute, Alokaprana, I'm taking it. And I was supposed to go to Almora. I was being transferred. So I had to go and take leave of her. She was in the hospital. And as soon as I entered, and before I could ask her how she is, she asked me, how are you? And there's a person sick, and it's I who has to ask her, how are you, Mataji? And before I could open my mouth, she was asking my welfare. How are you? Are you keeping well? Is everything okay with you? Then I told her, no, I'm going to Almora. She said, good, go. Because Almora has Himalayan mountains right in front of you. Just do what you want to do and be immersed. That's the blessing she gave me. I was the last person to see, because no one were allowed to see Mokshapana Mataji to go and see in her last illness. Because I had to go to Almora, I got that blessed opportunity to see her last one time. Thank you.
Actually, as Sridharaprana was saying, Mokshapana Mataji's life was a life, one long stillness of prayer. This is what I saw as a novice. The time they spent in meditation and prayer, and at the same time, they managed to combine karma yoga as well, which is actually the very thing that is demanded of a spiritual life. The combination of meditation and also intense activity. But as Sridharaprana was saying, you cannot imagine the amount of time they go into deep meditation. Now, I actually, being in the hospital setup, I didn't have much time to go to her in Sarada Math. But when she was going through her terminal illness in the hospital, the seniors had asked me to serve her. So when I went to her, there were the other consultant cardiologists, pulmonologists who were coming to see her. And what I noticed about her in the hospital, she was extremely calm. She never got excited. Whatever the doctors asked her to do, she would do it. But even there, you could feel in the cabin that she was there. There was an atmosphere of prayer. Maybe she was continuously praying, and we won't understand the depth of her intensity of prayer. Then as the days were going by, she must have realized the last days were coming. Then she had specifically asked her cardiologist and pulmonologist to come because they were looking after her for many, many years. So when they came, she really looked after them. Whatever they wanted, whatever they liked, like the cardiologist, he liked milk. So made sure that he had a good glass of milk. Then when the pulmonologist came, whatever prasad was needed, she made sure he had it. We did not realize at that moment she was taking her final parting from them. We did not realize that. So whatever Mataji said in the cabin, we gave it to them. Then she says, there is a doctor who is here doing 24-hour service. Make sure that he goes to Sarada Math and he has prasad. Because she had a very cordial nature, it never came to us that she was actually taking leave of these doctors. Then the doctors had informed me that tomorrow there will be a blood transfusion for which she'll have to be taken upstairs to the ITU where the blood transfusion will be given. Because as I was telling you, she was going through her terminal illness and being malignancy, there was nothing much we could do, although she was in the best hospital. Then I was just thinking with anxiety, now how am I going to tell Mataji that you're going to the ITU tomorrow? Because these senior sannyasinis, from my experience, I have noticed, they are not really interested in the medical facilities that we actually force on them. They are more introvert, they're very spiritual, and we don't understand the level they are going through. So I was just thinking now how to tell her that tomorrow she has to go upstairs for a blood transfusion. So I just little vaguely, I told her, Mataji, tomorrow we'll have to go upstairs. I didn't have the guts to tell her that you have to get a blood transfusion. Then she told me, I know, tomorrow I have to go upstairs. I know that. So I was a little taken aback. I was thinking maybe one of the senior consultants must have told her. So I was relieved. I went back to Matri Bhavan because in the early hours of the morning, I'll have to come. I'll have to get all the things ready, cooperate and coordinate with the doctors of the hospital. Early hours of the morning, we heard that she had passed away. Then when we came to the hospital, one of the attendants, the monastic attendant, said that a few days ago she had taken the almanac and found out a suitable day to leave her mortal frame. These things we find it very difficult to grasp, but when we go back on the incident, then only I realized she was taking leave of the doctors who had been with her and helped her at the terminal stage of her life. So these are things that when we look at it and all, that we can find out what depth of spirituality. Their life was one long life of prayer, is what was enacted, taught by Holy Mother, and which we show in Bharati Pranji, and we are seeing it also in our senior Sannyasinis.
Muktiprana Mataji, the next powerful person is Muktiprana Mataji, Pravrajika Muktiprana. She is what Swami Vivekananda is to Belur Math, Muktiprana ji is to Sarada Math. And she was the unseen hands of Vivekananda to fulfill his dream. It's where his hands were working through her. Young girl of 18 years came across the literature, in the Vivekananda literature, in the conversation, here she read about Swamiji's desire to establish a women's order. And she bluntly asked the Swamis, have you established an order for women? If it is so, I'm going to go there. Nothing was done. And when she found nothing was done, and she took the lead. There I started. 18 years girl. Collected the like-minded students, friends who have an inclination towards this life. And she said, do you want to become a sadhu? Come with me. We will work for it. Like that, she collected young girls, 13, 14, 15. And they rallied around her. They used to call her Asha, Ashadi. So Ashadi means Sister Asha. And she was such a strong, independent and strict disciplinarian. She ensured that the girls who are there, they will not be nampy-pampy, devotional, emotional. No, they should study well, work, and they should be very practical, and they should be very scientific. No superstition, nothing. She was trying to mold their life according to the need of Swamiji, what Swamiji wanted us, like that. And in one instant, Swami Madhavananda was telling, he especially told her, one is a great general secretary, he was very great person of Belur Math. He said, Asha, say that the girls who join the order are not the girls who will make garlands and cook. I don't want such type of girls to be in Sarada Math. I want those girls who will work for the society and raise the less fortunate their sisters. So that type of dynamic girls I want. You see that they will be that. So she worked hard. She always said, first you be to us, especially she told me, look, I want you first to be a sadhu. And not just sadhu. going around with the mala. No, enough for you, enough strength for yourself and to help or guide whoever come in close with you. If you can do that much, that is more than enough. You yourself should be enough, you should have enough strength to lead your spiritual life and always help or give a hand to all those who come in close to you. We needn't have to go and do big relief work or anything. I don't want you to do all that, but you should be spiritually strong and be a strength for all those who come in close contact with you. If that much you can do, you have done a bit of Swamiji's work. And she always told us, what else you have in your in this life? Work, meditation, and studies. Study, meditation, work. These are the three things with which you have to rally. So I have only given you a basics, you build up your life. She very clearly, she told me. And that's what we all have been trying to do. And Alokaprana has beautiful things to tell.
Actually, my association with Mukti Prana Mataji is again the medical association. So when she was in Mumbai, she had a massive heart attack for which she was treated in Mumbai, but the side effects, the complications of the heart attack had its effect on her. She was carefully brought back to Calcutta. And then from there, she is a very active person, but in spite of that, she continued her life, but with a little limitations. And obviously, cardiologists, pulmonologists, physicians were actually checking her up from time to time. Then at that point, I was going through my training period in Sarada Math, and she took me as her medical attendant. Although she had other attendants also, but I was fortunate to be her medical attendant. And it was at that point of time, I started realizing, because she is the Pani of Sarada Math, that a person could be so disciplined and so strict, I had never imagined. For me, this was all an eye-opening that people like this could exist. She herself was very strict on herself. It is not that she tortured other people, but the way she led her life, it was an example for us. Now, as she, 2-3 incidents I will tell you, is that the Assistant General Secretary, she was the General Secretary, Assistant General Secretary was Pravrajikas Alokaprana and Sridharaprana. She later also became a president of the order. Now, every day they will come in the evening to discuss the matters that are occurring in the Sarada Math. Obviously, I will not be present. I will leave the room and they'll keep on discussing matters. Once they have gone, then one morning, Mukti Pranji told me, who is that nun who is limping and coming? And I was told, don't give her information about all these sadhus in the order. You keep quiet because you are only an attendant. So I was thinking, my goodness, what am I to say? Because that sannyasini was actually limping. So then I told Mataji, it's very difficult because it was an upstairs room. From where I am, it's very difficult to see who is that sannyasini. I could see very clearly who that sannyasini was. So I said, Mataji, it's very difficult for me to know who is that sannyasi. She says, go downstairs, go onto the main pathway and find out who she is and what is her problem. So I had no choice, going downstairs. Then I came back and I told her everything. Then in the evening, she asked Sridharaprana Mataji, what is wrong with her? What is the medical attention she is getting? Man, she was so specific about every sannyasini of the order. She knew everything. I was really flabbergasted. We cannot manage with a group of medical problems. And here she was managing with every sannyasini who had even the minutest problem. Then one day, she had fever. And I told you her heart was very weak. It was in the evening, around 8, 9 o'clock. Then Sridharaprana Mataji called me and she told me, look, Ashadi is having fever. I said, okay. Then she went to her room to lie down. Then I slowly noticed that her pulse was becoming irregular. She was having breathing difficulty. I became a little nervous because I was the only medical person in Dakshineshwar Sarada Math. So I rang up her cardiologist. They said, oh, she's showing signs of heart failure. You better immediately give her IV derifylin, IV compose, and IV Lasix. So being young, a novice, a new passed out doctor, at least I had the guts to set up an IV line. And I gave her all these 3 medicines. After some time, I found out that blood pressure and the breathing, because IV derifylin had been given, that her breathing also was becoming a little bit better. And the blood pressure and the pulse also was stabilizing. Then after a little while, she told me, I want to go to the bathroom. I said, I'm very sorry, Mataji. You cannot go to the bathroom. You have had IV compose. The moment you get out of your bed, you will collapse here. I don't have the stamina to take you and put you back again into the bed because I'm the only medical personnel here. She was a little annoyed with me. I kept quiet because, as I told you, she's got a very strong personality. That is the reason Sarada Math came into existence. It was a very hard struggle. Then after that, anyway, she was much better. Later, the cardiologist came and told, yes, she was in impending heart failure. I was happy at least that period we had managed to get over. Then after 3 days, I took some courage. You have to have some courage to go and talk to her because every little thing one must notice because she notices everything. So I went up to her. She was lying down reading a magazine. I just sat down by the side of her bed. So she looked at me and she told me, do you have anything to say? I said, yes, I do have something to tell you. So she says, what is it? So I told her, I owe you an apology. So she said, why? So I said, actually, Mataji, you are the General Secretary of this order. I'm nothing but a novice. But actually, please excuse me, I was very nervous when I was treating you. So maybe my way of talking was not so pleasant. It was a little harsh. So I give my apology, tender my apology to you, kindly accept it. She says, no, you're not in the wrong. I'm in the wrong. So I was a little taken aback. She says, at that moment, you were my doctor. You were not my novice. And I was not the General Secretary of the order. I had to obey you because you were the one who was giving me all the medicines. So there's no this thing of an apology from your side. So I was really taken aback because many people being in that position, they have a different tendency. Yes, I'm the General Secretary. This person is nothing but a novice. But at that stage, you think, my goodness, this is the way people think. Their thinking is on a different level. They have divinized the whole thing. Then only it becomes an eye-opener for us. Then on another incident, actually, we have got some elderly sannyasinis who are very much involved in Thakur Seva and all that. So one sannyasini, and as you see, all of them, which is one of the rules of Sarada Math, is that they're all graduates. Nobody is uneducated as such. MA pass, BA pass and all that. So one sannyasini Mataji, quite elderly, she went up to Mokshaprana Mataji, who is the president of the order, and said, just happened to tell, good morning, Mother Superior. Mother Superior is the head of the organization in the Catholic organization. So and we are not used to this because for us it is Mataji. So when somebody says Mother Superior, then you think it looks a little odd and coming from an elderly sannyasini. So when she went back, when Sridharaprana Mataji heard about this, and she was also being treated, she had a cold. So in the dining room, Sridharaprana Mataji said, these are the side effects of antibiotics. She was jokingly saying it. Then I was a little upset because I had passed out, and it was a well-tested antibiotic, which was being used globally. So then I told my senior doctor who was working with me, she's also a monastic nun. I said, I'm going to Mukti Pranaji. I'm going to go and complain. So she said, okay, go. If it's going to give you some mental satisfaction, please go. So I went up to Mukti Pranaji. She was seated at the table. And I was a medical Shevika, so I had a little boldness also to go and tell whatever I wanted to her. So I went up to her and I said, Mataji, I've got a complaint. So she said, what about? I said, in the dining room, Sridharaprana Mataji ran down this antibiotic. But Mataji, that shouldn't be so, because this antibiotic is used globally. So then she kept quiet. First, I did not tell the name of the Mataji. So she said, who is this Mataji who discussed it in the dining room? So I didn't say, I said, you don't have to know the name. Then she herself said, is this Sridharaprana Mataji? Because Sridharaprana Mataji has got a very good sense of humor. So I didn't catch the humor in that discussion that she was doing. Then she says, okay, I will tell Sridharaprana Mataji. I said, you don't have to tell anything, Mataji. I have got the satisfaction that if I tell something to you, I have emptied my pain, my difficulty, I have emptied it to you, and I feel mentally very satisfied. So she says, are you satisfied? You have discussed the whole thing with me? Yes, I said, I am. Because you get that sense of satisfaction because the person listens to you totally, listens to all the aspects of where your problem are, and they actually know how to satisfy an individual. So I was quite happy. And I continued serving her. And I was very fortunate because I had to put the medicines into the little containers, and she will take it at the correct time. One day, one of the tablets fell on the floor. So when I came after evening vespers, and I entered the room, I saw 2 or 3 sadhus looking for a tablet. So then I said, what's happened, Mataji? So she says, then she kept quiet. Then the other sadhu said, Mataji is very worried because you will come, and she knows a medicine has to be taken at 7 p.m. And all of us are looking for that medicine because it has fallen on the floor. It must have gone under the cupboard or whatever it is. And she's worried because you also are very strict, and you start scolding her. I said, me scolding Mukti Pranaji, my goodness. I said, you could have told me, I would have taken another tablet. So in that way, it was a very beautiful understanding we had. Then the time came back for after 2 years, I had to go back to my center. So when I had to go back to my center, I told Mataji, look, Mataji, I have been your Shevika. You kindly keep me as your Shevika, because I was really having a spiritual teaching from her. Then she told me, I'm very although I would like to keep you as my Shevika, but you are not only for me. You have to go to a mission center because you have to serve many people. You're not here only for me. So then she made sure that I went back to the hospital center.
Shraddha next. Shraddha. They all of them were very closely, they were even friends. She's also Virajananda Maharaj's disciple. She was very close to Muktipana Mataji, and how to, it's so intimate, you just cannot express them. But then she was such a person, I didn't feel that she was so great. I didn't feel that she was so great and so big because she was dealing with me as if she was my friend. I could get angry with her if I wanted. She was the general secretary and later she became the president. and so loving. She had made her so close we were that I didn't feel that she's somebody great and I will have to be very respectful and all that. She's the head of the organization. She's the guru of. One small incident today morning, I was telling to Gayatri Panaji, I will not go into detail. I wanted to go on a pilgrimage. So I went to her, and she was at that time busily writing something. She was writing a letter or whatever it is. I went and I said, Mataji, I want to go on a pilgrimage to Mayavati and Almora, such places. She said, why? You were working there. You were a worker there. Didn't you go at that time? I said, no. I was a worker. I was completely involved in the work. I didn't take a holiday and go. So I'll be happy if you could send me. Immediately she started scolding me. You left and right, she gave me. You people always want to go out and enjoy. Pilgrimage, pilgrimage, pilgrimage. Why don't you sit and work or do meditation here? Then I also got angry. I said, oh, yes. If I ask, it's always like that, work, work, work. I know that we are not destined to go anywhere, anything. This is the problem with you. I don't get any chance. I'm not, anyway, I think I'm not destined for all this to go on a pilgrimage. Okay, you don't have to give me any permission. I don't want to go anywhere there. Like how a little child will talk to its mother. I literally spoke like that and I got so angry. I said, I don't want to go anywhere. Thank you, bye-bye, I'm going. I literally said that and walked out, not knowing that knowing well, but still not knowing that there's such a distance between her. And then the funniest thing is, in the evening, we all had to, every day we would go and do pranam. And I had to go. So I would go and just keep looking somewhere else. I wouldn't look at her because I'm angry with her. So I would just look. It's a very intimate incident I'm telling you. I don't know whether the authorities will scold me or not when it comes on the YouTube. Anyway, I'm telling you. And then I wouldn't look at her. But all the way she'll be looking at me only, just to see whether I will look at her. No eye contact. I would look and then just bow down and walk out. Then after 3 days, one of the assistant of her attendant, she rang, Sridharaprana, Mataji is calling you. Why? Why is she calling me? I said, you go and ask her. And she banged the phone. Then I went to her and she looked at me. And always tears are coming. My tears are all just it's held. And then she just put her hand on me. Well, at that time I was busy writing something in a different mood and you came and spoke. And I got a little bit annoyed. Should you get annoyed with me because of that? And then she started doing like this and said, okay, you want to go? Arrange, collect few same-minded sannyasinis who have the same temperament and go and enjoy. And believe me, she asked every point of my pilgrimage, where I'm going, how many days I'm going to stay, whether I have written the letter to the particular places where I'm going to stay. And after I came out, every detail, she said, every evening you come for half an hour with me and talk. So I can travel with you with you. I can imagine myself traveling with you. So I took nearly 6 days, half an hour, to tell her the story of our pilgrimage. So intimate she was. And I never knew that I was so freely dealing with such a great person. Really, Sri Ramakrishna was blessing me through those companies. I really got priceless things from her. Thank you.
Regarding Sridharaprana Mataji, at that point of time, she was the general secretary. And what exactly happened is one of our secretaries of Bhubaneswar, she suddenly had a ruptured cerebral aneurysm with extensive bleeding inside the brain. So she went in for an emergency brain operation and she lost consciousness. She went into coma. And then the instruction was I was sent to Bhubaneswar, and then from there, after about a month or so, I had to bring her by flight back to Calcutta. Then she was admitted into a very good hospital. But then the hospital doctors did not give a good prognosis. They said within 1 week, she will not survive more than 1 week. Then they also said that in that process, because she was deeply in coma, 5 bed sores right up to bone. Then Mataji looked at me and she says, I'm going to take her out of risk money. How deep were their ways of thinking? She's not in the medical profession, but she told me, I'm going to take her on risk bond from the hospital. I said, Mataji, this is an ITU patient. Yes, she is an ITU patient. We are going to take her to one of the branch centers and you will look after her. I said, my goodness, I have got no ITU experience. Make the setup, get the nurses you want. And already in Bhubaneswar, the hospital taught you ITU nursing. So, Mani, their suggestion or whatever they said, it was a command for us. We had no this thing of arguing with them or anything. So I made the setup. The doctor said not more than 1 week. I went and I really saw that she was in deep coma. Then bed sores going right up to bone. By God's grace, with the guidance and continuous aspiration and encouragement from Sridharaprana Mataji, she kept on ringing up from Sarada Math and finding out the situation. So I also felt encouraged. I didn't feel I was all alone. The bed sore started improving, healing, and after about 6 months, she came out of coma. Not only did she come out of coma, even the doctor from Bhubaneswar congratulated the way she was being treated. And then she started taking Gita classes. And 10 years she survived. What is the feeling, the promptness? Sometimes I feel they have a direct connection with Holy Mother. To take such a brave decision, nobody would have taken an ITU patient out of a hospital. But she had the guts to do it.
Quickly, not much time. You have to make it pressy. Yeah. Yes, please. Vidyaprana Mataji was, as I told you, the first batch of workers who were there. They left. They had some problem with the Belurmant, and so they had left. Only one person stayed back, and that was our Vidyaprana Mataji. In the Nivedita school, sorry. It's in the Nivedita school. The school was there. Some dedicated workers were there. They had some problem with the authorities of the Belurmant. They all left. And they were, because she was one among them, they asked, are you not going to come? She said, no, I am not for a person. I am for the principles. I came for Sri Ramakrishna, not with this group. Group go, I will stay alone. And she had stayed alone, managing the whole lot. It was at that time Mokshapana Mataji came, and very calm, quiet, hard-working person. From the shrine work to the dairy, looking after the cows, every bit of the work. It was hard days. We didn't have much money. So every single work had to be done by us. And these Matajis, I remember Gayatri Panaji telling, she taught Gayatri Panaji how to wipe. She would hold the hand and then make us wipe. Because these children all have come, finish the university and come, don't know anything. And she has to get the things done by them. So she would take the hand and teach every bit of that. And such a wonderful person, and she had got great interest in learning the languages. And night, evenings, girls would go and she would learn the languages with them. And such a wonderful person. And you have got the last saying, na? I better give it to her.
Actually, as Sridharaprana was saying, the life is very silent, but very deep. Because as we were saying, she was a close companion of Mokshapranaji. And throughout the night, it's a life of meditation for them. But for people like us who are novices, we do not understand the depth of their spirituality. But again, once again, my fortune that at the terminal stage of her illness. She was having malignancy. Then they called me to do Sheva to her. Then at that time, my senior Dr. Mataji also was there. We were both there. We were by the side of her. And slowly I could feel that the pulses were retracing. From the arm, forearm to the elbow and then to the neck. So I knew that the soul was now getting ready to depart. Then Mokshaprana Mataji was sitting at a little distance. So actually we called her. Mokshapranaji herself came very calm, so calm. It's unbelievable that they can be so calm. She came and then slowly, Vidya Pranji also was actually, it was her last moment. Then Moksha Pranji told me, can you see the signs of a liberated soul? So I was wondering, what are the signs one is supposed to see? And they are very beautifully, Moksha Pranji was showing, there are 18 signs of a soul that is being liberated. Thakure Darshan, as we call it. When they see the vision of God. So I was really surprised because as far as I'm concerned, they go against scientific knowledge in the sense there were horripilation, all the these little hairs were at 90 degrees. And I saw it with my own eyes. All the hairs, all these hairs were at 90 degrees and all standing erect. Then slowly the tears, they come from not this portion, but from the lateral portion of the eye. Those are tears of joy. And we know that a person passing away due to lack of oxygen is cyanosis. We call it cyanosis, deoxygenated blood. But in this process, she was going into cyanosis. Slowly, the face became illuminated. There was a yellowish type of glow. So I looked at all this and I myself could not coordinate and collaborate everything, but I was just listening to Mataji. Mataji, one after another, she was showing us all these signs. That is my senior doctor colleague and myself. Then suddenly she opens her eyes and then you could see, we put a picture of Thakurma Swamiji in front. Her eyes were not focused on Thakurma Swamiji, but just little above it. Then Moksha Pranaji told me, at this time, she is having Thakur's darshan. And you could actually feel a tangible presence of divinity in the room. You could feel it. So then this was about 3-4 minutes, after which slowly the eyes closed, not to open again. Then only I realized that a whole person's life can only be enacted at the time of death. Then only you know what type of life they have led. And most of the Sannyasinis of Sarada Math, with whom I had the fortune to be closely associated, theirs was a life of prayer, deep prayer with Holy Mother Thakur and Swamiji, which was seen at the time of death.
We continue. Dayapana Mataji, please.
And these you can,
I will.
and after that, Shiva Pranji.
Yes. Dayapana Mataji, her parents were the devotees of Holy Mother, disciples of Holy Mother. And when she was born, they brought the little baby and put on her lap, Holy Mother's lap, and Holy Mother blessed. And later, as the girls used to grow, their father used to take them to Belur Math and all. Once she went to Akhandananda Maharaj with the father. The father, Akhandananda Maharaj, told his father, don't give the daughters in marriage. They have got something great. Just give them the opportunity to improve that. So she was initiated by Swami Subodhananda, direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. And all the girls, wonderful. None of them married. One of her sister also was a nun. And this mother was like this Mataji was like a holy mother for her. You have the Holy Mother's photo, the Holy Mother stretching her legs and sitting. So when she used to take very informal class for us. We would all go in her class, room and sit. And she would be sitting on the bed with her legs stretched. And she was asking something, she was telling something, and we all were just looking at her for a long time. Suddenly she said, "What are you looking?" We said, "Mataji, you look just like Holy Mother." The picture which we see, Holy Mother sitting, she was actually stretching her leg so much. You cannot imagine, you can't, it's so much. Same, just like Holy Mother. Holy Mother has the hair, cloth on her head. This Mataji also used to put a shawl, and she would resemble just like Holy Mother. And we never missed, because she had slept on the mother's lap. Maybe she must have got those power or whatever it is. She was like a Holy Mother for one person to care, understand anyone who came to the or inside the mutt. First, there she will be. And we will feel so happy. Here is a person who is there to welcome. Very, very strict. Very, very strict. And we would go walk slowly. If she would say, "Why are you walking in a restless way? Can't you walk steadily?" To that extent. Strict, loving. Mother Kali has a sword and then blessing. Like that, this will be extremely strict and extreme loving. That was our Dayaprana Mataji. Wonderful person.
Regarding Dayapranaji, at the terminal stage of her life, again, I was given the opportunity by Sridharaprana Mataji to be her medical Shevika day and night. And she had a tracheostomy because she had some difficulty in breathing. But then for her, tracheostomy was part of life. I was surprised. I was more worried about the tracheostomy, if it just gets stuck or anything like that. But the tracheostomy did not bother her at all. Then I used to notice in the night, I used to sleep in another cot by her side. Then take around 3:30, 4 o'clock. I used to notice that she used to be very restless. So I was thinking, is it due to some problem with the tracheostomy or not? Then I used to put on the torch just to see that she was okay. But she used to get a little annoyed with me. The reason being, when I put the torch to look at her, it used to shine on Thakur Ma and Swamiji. So she used to get a little annoyed because in the night, I'm shining the torch on Thakur Ma Swamiji, which she very much objected, although she was not well. And then 3:34 is a force of habit. She is actually sitting for meditation. Although she could not sit, but she was in the meditative pose. So you can see for them, death is just nothing but a changing of a cloth. For them, even they're not afraid of death. Even at the time she's having the tracheostomy, it was one long prayer. She was not perturbed, nothing like that. And slowly they go from one phase to another. But for us, it was a really a teaching in life, how we should prepare ourselves for the final event.
And one thing about Dayaprana Mataji was she had her own time of meditation. And she will be sitting outside, and within 2 minutes, she's not there. Where? She'll go and do little japa and come. In a day, I don't know how many times. And we all have got the chance to serve her. When it came to me, so I used to get up quickly, 3 o'clock. I used to get up quickly and get ready and come down. She will go to bathroom, and I will put the seat and all that, light the incense and keep the Ganges water for her to wash. And then she will take her rosary. Okay. Every day I used to come at 4. She's already awake. So that I'm late today. Okay, tomorrow I'll come still early. 10 minutes came early. She's already awake. Another day next. How long do you mean to say I should get up at 2 o'clock and come? Every time I came, she was earlier than me. Every time. So it was amazing. Then I asked Mataji, every time I come, you're already able, do you sleep? Then she just laughed. It was a night of prayer. And only maybe in the morning she gets up and has a wash and comes and sits. But the whole night is a night of prayer. How deep it was. We can tell the time by seeing her. Mataji's window is closed. That means now she has sat for the meditation at 2:30 in the afternoon. There for meditation. Half an hour. She'll spread over the whole day and be immersed in that. Yes, next.
I'll say about Shiva Pranaji.
Yes, quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yes, don't talk to me. Regarding another sadhu, she is actually with Bhakti Pranam Mataji, our present president of the order. She was actually Shiva Pranaji. Shiva Pranaji was actually she was a nun, and also she was a attendant in the hospital. In the hospital, Matri Bhavan Hospital, majority of the time she spent in the hospital. She also had malignancy as a terminal illness. But the way she worked in the hospital is what you will call as a karma yogin. Because what I found, I had a language problem because I did not know Bengali and she did not know English. But then we had to get on with each other. So when we used to come down at 3 o'clock from the hospital to come and eat, because we were looking after the labor room and all that, she will come and sit quietly, and then no talking, no nothing. But she used to see the other nurses coming at 3:30 in the afternoon. Very cold. Winters were very cold in Calcutta those days. Then she will come, slowly go, heat up the dal and pour it over the rice, and then make it warm so that the whole of the food was hot. Otherwise, everything will be cold. Then on the other hand, for her chemotherapy, I had to go with her. Language obviously was a problem, but in the end, I found out that whatever she said, I managed to understand. It was a language of the heart, actually. And she used to tell me, although I did not have much of an opportunity to do Thakur Seva as such in the shrine, she used to tell me, when you go up to the hospital, you do pranam at the first step. That is your shrine. You're going up to the shrine of the hospital. So you are actually serving human beings as representations of the divine. They actually practiced what they saw and they did and what they learned from their seniors, and it is what we have seen them doing. Again, a life full of meditation and prayer. I was fortunate to be by her side when the last moments came. Same thing then at that time, Mukti Pranaji was there. This was in Matri Bhavan. And I am really surprised the way I told you, these 18 signs of a liberated soul, I myself saw it again. And this time Mukti Pranaji was telling me, what are these signs? I saw it, and she's got such beautiful eyes. The eyes were closed, the eyes again opened, but he did not look at the pictures of Thakur Ma and Swamiji. It was just above that. And then Mukti Pranaji told me, now Thakur's darshan is being done. It's a palpable, tangible atmosphere of divinity. And then the eyes closed, never to open again. So this is what I'm saying, their life. What I have found out is that these Sannyasinis, you don't hear much about them because it is a very conservative organization, but it is full of spirituality. And it is not surprising because it is Holy Mother who is actually guiding this organization.
Quick, Medha Pranamataji. She was one among the 7 brahmacharinis. 8, no, including. So she was from Trishur, and Virajananda Maharaj's disciple, and such a quiet person. I don't think she has ever spoken at a stretch more than 3 minutes. I don't think. except that taking classes for the children or for the sannyasinis, scholar, very great scholar. And whoever wanted to learn, she was ready to teach. I know one of our sannyasini in the afternoon, every afternoon she used to go and learn the Upanishads and the Bhagavatam from her. She was an authority. So I haven't heard her voice. Only one day, I being a very little girl, young novice, and Kali Puja day, I had danced in front of her. And she told me, "Oh, I will never forget your dance." First time I heard her voice, because I had never heard her voice. That one sentence, oh, so shrill and so tender her voice is. I will never forget your dance. That was the only sentence I heard from her. And that I have taken it as a blessing, that I could entertain a person of such a reserved, such a big person. She was happy with my performance. What I don't know what I did. Little girls, we were Kali, Mother Kali is there. So Mother Kali songs are very thrilling, you know. And so we would, youngsters, nobody's there, no audience, no devotees, nobody, night. So we would dance and sing. So she was very happy, and she was doing japa, and she was very happy to see that. And she said, "I will never forget your dance." That was, I take it as a blessing. That's the very small incident of her. I said, that's it. Next, and the three really persons who have worked behind, for whose purpose we had to speak this, but then that's Abhayaprana Mataji. Abhayaprana Mataji was one of the strictest person. Her name is Abhayaprana, means one who gives fearlessness. We were very afraid of. Such was her, but it takes time to learn. One small incident I'll tell you. When I was in Sarada Math for the training period, I fell sick at least, not much, more than 8 or 9 times. Just in 2 years, or 8 or 9 times I fell sick. That's all. Every change of climate, I would fall sick. And I was expected to wear a shoe or slippers and work in the kitchen, which is not possible. And I never had a indoor slippers or anything. Who will give me a novice? So what I used to do is I used to wear the shoes, my slippers, what I wear outside, and keep it there outside the kitchen and finish my work and go. One day she came. Whose slippers are these? She started yelling. I got so frightened. I said, "Mataji, it's mine. How dare you bring these outside slippers here?" Then I said, "Look, I don't have. I have been falling sick every day. I mean, almost all the time. So I'm expected to wear a shoe, slipper. And Mataji, the Mataji will scold me if I don't wear. So I have kept it here, Mataji. I just, when I go out, I don't bring it inside the kitchen." So she went away. Exactly at the lunchtime, she came to find out that I had really fallen sick. I was sent to go and lie down. And I was unconscious. I was not at all conscious of what happened. A bell has gone. So many people have eaten everything, but I didn't know anything. I was fast asleep, fever, high fever. Then at 2 o'clock, when I opened my eyes and I wanted to go to bathroom, I just kept my feet down and saw 2 pairs, a pair of slippers. See, I immediately understood who has done this, because I had that what do you call thing with her in the morning, and she knew that I had the problem. I didn't have a slipper. She brought a pair of slipper. She kept it at my feet. As soon as I kept my feet on the floor, they were on the slipper. See, the motherly feeling, very hard crust, but inside tender. And I said, you cannot judge a person seeing that. We were always afraid of her. We kept a distance. But then this is the person. That's the wonderful. I can never forget that incident. And Abhayaprana, always I remember that loving thing. And the next, Vishnu Pranaji, quickly. I will. Next. Oh, Nirmal Pranaji. Nirmal Pranaji was a very jovial, very happy person, jolly Mataji, we can say. And she was Shankaranand Maharaj's disciple. When she came newly to Sarada Math, new ashram, very few people, all have got work. Once Bhartipana Mataji wanted to go to Jairam Bhatti. So she's the president of the order. You can't send her alone. Somebody has to go. But we couldn't spare a single person. Who is there? They couldn't spare. I wasn't there then. I wasn't even born. Anyway, so what they did was, this annually joined candidate. 2-3 days, this Nirmal Mataji, what's her Leela Devi. She had joined. Okay, you go. There's a company. So she went with the president of the order, Bharati Mataji, who is the Sevika of Holy Mother, a great spiritual stature. And such an unassuming Mataji was Bharati Pranaji that when at the time of meditation, this girl didn't have even her own asana. So she spread a blanket. Come on, sit next to me. Sitting on the same asana of the president. Imagine the spiritual vibrations that you could have to digest. She sat there along with her and meditated on the same carpet, on the same asana, which is a big thing. You know, why do we touch the feet of the sadhus? We touch, get the holy blessings. That's a touch, the holiness. This is what is behind the idea of touching the feet of the sadhu. And this person is sitting next to her. Imagine. And the last incident of her life, I'll tell you. She was ill. And one of our Sannyasinis, Pravrajikas Alokaprana, most of you know, she was going every day to her, meet and talk to her. And then she told, a very nice conversation she used to have, she had cancer. And then she told, look, Pravrajikas, I have decided to go on 1st January. And Pravrajikas said, goodness, why do you want to put us into trouble? 1st January is Kalpataru Day, where Kashipur garden will be so busy. How are we take you to take your body? No, sorry, you change your date. Oh, so, okay. And then next day she said, okay, I have decided to go on Swamiji's birthday. How is that? She said, why do you select such strange days? Swamiji's birthday, all are busy with Swamiji's birthday and you pass away and where are we to go? Taking you. She said, that's it. I won't change. Put up with a little bit difficulty. What is there? For my sake, certainly you will be able to put it and I'm going on that day. Well, who will believe that? Anyway, Pravrajikas felt that this is something strange. And you know, on Swamiji's birthday, we offer breakfast for Swamiji. Beautiful cakes and this, that, everything is given. Coffee is given to him. Everything is arranged. So that's Pravrajikas' work. And Pravrajikas, while serving coffee to Swamiji, she was telling, Swamiji, you better quickly finish your breakfast. Nirmal is ready to go. Please finish it soon. Hurry up, hurry up. And 7:15, the breakfast was finished. We give 15 minutes for Swamiji to eat. We do sit and do japa, 15 minutes. Yes, we take away the breakfast. Like how you get the prasad from the thing, like that we get. So 15 minutes, 7:15, she passed away. Can you imagine? Whether it's a coincidence or whatever it is, you make a call, but it's a fact. 7:15, she passed away. Quickly, we all went and bowed down. We paid her our respects, came back, everything was stopped. And the body was taken to we have a school, our own school there. All of the devotees were informed. The people went there and had the darshan. By afternoon, finished the cremation. So that is our Nirmal Pranaji. Amazing. Who could decide her time? Like Ajay Mataji. Ajay Mataji said, yesterday I was going, you people brought. Today I'm going, you are not going to bring me anymore. And she went. So these things, these people can decide. Amazing, isn't it? And the last of it, Vishnu Pranaji. I just loved this silent person. Day in and day out, working and working and working. Such a wonderful person. 20 years she worked in Matribhavan Hospital. And then she came to Sarada Math and she stayed. And one of the doctors of Matribhavan had, Shraddha Mataji told me this, that he said, he was the top of doctor. He said her old name was Vasanti. If Vasanti Ma is there in the hospital, then I don't worry about myself. I rest, go and rest, because everything she will look after and she will call me in time. So that's a tribute that was given to her. Such a nice working seva prana. I mean, Vishnu Pranaji was such a devoted person. We had the what do you call the chief minister? Chief minister was Vidhan Roy, Dr. Vidhan Roy. He was a doctor. Before that, he had come on inspection to Matribhavan. And hospitals are everything cleaned and everything kept for inspection. All the more we are very clean. But what he did was he went straight to the laundry and took the bedpan and smelt. whether to see whether it's clean or neat and tidy. Because all this was done, why I'm saying is not by outside people. We didn't have money to employ the servants. All this was done by these nuns. Spick and span, not just outside, inside. And this Vishnu Pranamataji, when she passed away, she had cardiac arrest, whatever might be. At the last moment, she said, Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev. Remembered her Guru, Virajananda, and passed away. I was so happy. Very quiet person. I just loved her. Very quiet, very loving, and so deep. I think with this, you finally, I give to. There's no Bhakti Pandit. No Bhakti Pandit.
So just for the people on Zoom, we're going to give a little bit of time for questions. All right. Oh, yeah, good.
It's not a question, but more of a suggestion. Could we have an encore? More anecdotes? Maybe next week.
Thank you for the nice anecdotes. But one thing I was just listening, you said in your order 3 things. Alokaprana Mandaji told that meditation, study, and work. So that is yours, your orders. But tell something, ask the normal people who are not in the living the normal life. So tell something for us on that.
Meditation, study, and work, it's not just for the monastics, but for everybody it is needed. Because work without meditation won't be proper, because we always will be working with attachment, and then that will be giving a lot of pain, problems, because we work with attachment. To get rid of attachment, at least to reduce the attachment, we should have the meditation is necessary, so that we'll be connecting to God, connecting to the divine. That will help us in connecting to the divine, and then our attachment to the work will be less. And also study is good, is needed. What will you have to love the person, to love God, you should know about God. And so for that, to know about God, we have to study. At least some, not going to deep, in depth, but basics, at least something you have to study. And study will keep your mind on a higher level. As Ajay Pranam Maharaj was told by the senior Swami Isharananda, when you get old, all the friends that came with you, that is all the 5 senses, they will go one by one. Then what will you do? What have you got to hold on to when in life? When as you get older, you can't work anymore, but they may be able to read and listen. But then at one stage, you can't even, as you get older, you can't read. You can see. Then what will you do? So what you have read in when you are young, your early days, that thoughts will be there. So study is important. And also japa, repetition of the name of God. That will be there till the last moment. Even when you are unconscious, people continue doing japa. As Alokaprana said in the early incident about the Mataji who was taken out of hospital and who came out of coma after 6 months. She told me when she came out, the first thing she opened, when she opened the eyes, the first thing she said is, Ma, Holy Mother. So but that thought was going on earlier. About another Mataji, I heard that suddenly she collapsed and went into coma. And then when she came out of, she regained consciousness, she's repeating her mantra loudly. So that shows when she went into coma, when she lost consciousness, she was repeating. So that continued when she came out of came back to consciousness. So repetition of the name of God is very, very important.
Mataji, you gave some 2-3 points about the people who are self-realized and then they are leaving the world. There are certain signs you could observe as a medico. I would like to, you said 14, you gave about 2 or 3. Can you just narrate other ones?
They go in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it has been told. Like, for example, I'll give you one idea. Meditating on Shiva, Parvati was meditating on Shiva, and her facial expressions were completely changed like Shiva. To that extent, the identification. So this sort of identification comes, like, and this is one, and then horripilation, tears, and sometimes the oozing of the blood, which you can see in Saint Francis of Assisi, like that, some of that. So there are many more, which are all scriptural and highly evolved persons might have, but we were at least fortunate enough to have understand this much. It's an internal communion. Communion is going on within. The jiva finds its creator with all joy, with that adoration. It's a different feeling. And another thing is the whole atmosphere becomes charged with spiritual vibrations. And even our minds, ordinary people, youngsters, our minds got elevated. We couldn't think of anything else other than Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. That's a big thing. That's it.
Sorry, Mataji's, I'm not sure whether you're going to share this or not, but I'm sure you must have heard from some of these senior saintly nuns about some of their spiritual experiences. I know it's a bit touchy about how much people will say, but it is very inspiring for us to hear.
We are remembering all our Matajis now. They don't tell, but we have to infuse somehow.
See, in our order, we don't talk about our spiritual experience. So just that when you are in their presence, you can feel calmness, holiness, and your problems get solved, even just being in their presence. But they don't talk about the spiritual experiences. As far as I haven't heard anybody talking about the spiritual experiences. Even when they ask, they don't say anything.
You said the intensity goes away if you express your inner feelings. So they don't want. And after all, what are we going to do with it? The very when you come in touch with them itself, you can feel you will be blessed. So that you will not be the same person. Something you will take from them, which you do not know, but still you feel that difference and that influence will be there. So that in itself is more than enough. They're very reticent to tell anything. Yeah. No.
So thank you very much for that. And